Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself. So today you're going to find a little bit more about me and how I got involved with cars and why I do this. So my name is Musa. We have the channel Vehicular DIY. So to start with, I was a teenager. I was in high school. My brother-in-law started a shop in Etobicoke, Ontario, Canada. And they actually started a dealership on the side, just getting auction cars. And my reason for being there was a little bit of side money. On the weekends, I'd go there and detail cars. And then it slowly transitioned to where I was just messing around. I gravitated toward the cars. And I think one of the first things they had me do, just because they weren't too worried about the condition of the car, was pull a dashboard to do a heater core. So I was very young, inexperienced, but kind of mastered that, I guess, or just kind of blew them away how I did the whole job. Didn't break any clips, did a clean job, and did it in a pretty timely manner considering I was young. When I was going through high school, I would go in after school in the afternoons, and then I would go in on the weekends and assist them. I got to the point where I was doing brake jobs, safeties. I was, a proper apprentice, getting apprenticeship hours, but it wasn't really like a career move I was looking to do. I was just doing it for experience. But I did get to the point where I was doing head gaskets I remember doing head gaskets on like 3.8 Fords and stuff like that. I just kind of had my little dabble with cars when I was going to high school, got comfortable with doing some pretty intense things, lifting them on hoists, learning about torque, balancing wheels, changing tires, the usual stuff. But by the time I was like 17 or 18, it was kind of the end of my journey with cars, and my total hours doing it wasn't a lot. But when I was a kid, I used to tinker quite a bit, take apart electronics. I used to make subwoofers out of like cardboard boxes and find a way to amplify them and connect them to regular small stereos. Just little things like that. I was always interested in electronics and circuits and interested in computers. From there, I kind of worked with my buddy from high school and started a computer business where I assembled custom systems in the late 90s, early 2000s, and did that for quite a while and transitioned to my main job, which is IT hardware consulting and resale and power backup solutions, etc. So that's my story. That's what I do on my day-to-day. But I always, since I had that initial connection with cars when I was young, when I was in high school, I just naturally kind of took it from there, where it was officially my hobby and I had enough base experience to build on it. So after the computer business, I still always dabbled in cars for myself only, and I could fix any car and tear into engines and stuff on the side. Went to college, took electromechanical engineering, automation, robotics. And then from there, I did actually work for a body shop for a few months just for experience. And then, before I settled into the career that I'm in now. So if you look at one of the first videos on my channel, it was for a Mercury Mystique that was a bit of a sleeper. It was a 3-liter. I swapped it. They only came as 2.5 liters. It had ported heads and whatnot. It was just one of those hybrid motors from a Ford Taurus and Contour SVT, etc. All these various parts to get over 200 and something wheel horsepower. It was pretty cool for the time. I did upload that on the channel. And then someone was really interested in it because they liked the fact that it was pretty quick and it was a sleeper. So I sold that car. And then my cousin told me, why don't you pick up a BMW? He had an E30 and he told me you should look at E30s. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So I picked up, you'll see the videos on the channel, but the quality was terrible. But I picked up an 85 325E, put a 325i head on it, and I put a 524 TD crankshaft in it and made a bit of a stroker in preparation for turbo. We built his car and he made like 300 and something wheel horsepower, 330 wheel horsepower with an HX35, I believe, whole set turbo. Kind of just a DIY. We put it on Mega Squirt. I assembled the standalone myself, just soldered everything together. We wired up the car, made the harness purely from scratch, got that car tuned, went to the track, and then I think eventually he blew that motor, broke a couple of ringlands, and abandoned it. And then from there, so that was my first taste of BMWs. I had the E30, and then I actually put an M-Tech 2 body kit on it, got it custom painted. It looked amazing. It was a pretty cool car, and it was on standalone. But I sold it NA, and I sold my turbo kit because an E30 M3 popped up with a spun bearing. Someone pulled the motor out of it, and it was in a million pieces with a bucket full of bolts, and it was a mess that he couldn't sell. I took that project on, got that car saved, rebuilt it, and you'll find very early videos of an E30 M3 back in Canada on the channel. And that car, you know, I guess I didn't know at that time how rare that car was, and even especially how rare it was in Canada. It was kind of like a unicorn car for Canada especially, but I just didn't have the knowledge at the time. I just knew that, oh, there's an M3 E30. I had an E30 already. I had seen it's kind of cool on the forums, and I just jumped on it when I was very new to BMWs. And then while I owned it, realized, oh wow, this is like a pretty rare car. Funny enough. Used that for years, sold that, and then kind of regretted it, as anybody would if they had that car. Moved to the US, and then I bought another one that was a Sport Evo clone. You'll find those videos on the channel as well. And I kind of figured that would be a cool car for content, but I didn't drive it enough because they were appreciating in value, and sold it. May get back into one of those for sure, just because it's, you know, a nostalgic, iconic car. But that was my entry into BMWs. So it was my base experience as a mechanic, part-time mechanic, but also me tinkering, going on standalone, working with my cousin doing custom turbo kits and just different things like that. That just kind of, it was my side hustle. And then I was helping friends do suspension and stuff. I just kind of naturally gravitated toward it, but I was not very fast. And I was always focused on trying to do things myself, and always focused on trying to do it on a budget for as cheap as possible. So if you look at the videos on my channel, they're kind of geared toward trying to keep these cars going on the cheap. And at times it may have not been the best move, because you could be penny wise, pound foolish. But regardless, you know, that's where I'm at. And then of course, a lot of you guys subscribe to this channel because of this car behind me. I got it when I moved to the US in 2015, when I was looking for a daily driver. I needed something that was going to be a little bit fun to drive, but easy to drive. I was driving manual, and I figured I wanted an auto just for change. So then there's the E90 here. But heads up, this car is currently on eBay, live listing. If you're watching it before December 20th, 2022, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is when this car auction ends. So if you wanted to put a bid on it, it's available. I will get into another E9X car, and I'm thinking even maybe just get into like an LS swap or something cool, just so we can evolve the content on the channel. We'll do F-Series and whatnot. I'm not abandoning E-Series cars or E9X cars or anything like that. I know the majority of you guys are interested in that. So, but this car is kind of served its purpose. I've done all the mods to it, and it's set up, why tear it apart just to be able to make more mods, get another car, and let someone enjoy my work. That's my thinking anyway. Now, in terms of the comments regarding people thinking I was a BMW technician, I think it's more because I am interested in computers. I'm interested in coding a little bit. I dabbled in custom coding and, you know, hex coding and stuff like that. I found that really, really interesting actually. And it was kind of tied into what I took in school with being able to do ladder logic and C++, you know, basic programming for the sake of, you know, G code and Mastercam, just for the sake of, you know, being a potential light engineer. But I never really did that as my main career, but that is kind of my natural interest. You know, I like electronics, but I really like how the coding would tie back to computer chips and outputs and stuff like that. So then I found it really interesting when I figured out that you can modify these cars in terms of their coding, and just the flexibility that is built into these modules to make them do things that they may not have been able to do from the factory. So maybe that's where that reputation came from. It's my interest. I really do enjoy that, custom coding and stuff like that. And there hasn't been much of that on the channel lately because I've kind of sorted everything on that particular car. But that's just the background, you know. Ultimately, a little bit of engineering background. I did dabble with cars when I was younger, which kind of opened the door for me to do it on the side. I like the idea of putting a car on standalone. I like custom coding of cars. You know, stuff you've probably gathered if you've been a subscriber for many years now. But if I really had to like focus in on what do I like to show you guys, what is interesting to me, it's the electronics, it's the coding, it's the CAN bus, it's the troubleshooting, it's all that kind of stuff. I was working with Joel recently here at the shop. He comes around, Joel from Raleigh Motorsports, and he's very much interested in the engine building and assembly and the mechanical side of things. I find that very interesting too. It's very specialized work. But really, that's my backstory. Hopefully this video answers some questions for you guys with regards to my background, if you were curious a little bit more about me. And another point of this video was to get some exposure on the eBay listing before it is over in case one of you guys were interested in bidding on it. So that'll conclude this video. I know it's not my usual format. If you want more of this, or if you want me to do a Q&A type of video in the future, please do let me know in the comments. If this is the first video you're catching on mine, please consider subscribing. If you liked it, please give it a like so it'll rank higher. Thanks for watching.